What if 15 nuns, locked away from the world, woke up pregnant with no man in sight? A convent sacred silence shattered, a sin no one could confess. Was it a miracle or a monster's lie? Brace yourself, this truth will burn. Picture a quiet dawn over the rolling hills of the Midwest, where the Our Lady of Grace convent nestles like a secret carved into the earth. Its gray stone walls rise from the frost-kissed grass, weathered by time, kissed by the wind that hums through the oak groves. Inside, the air is thick with silence, broken only by the soft shuffle of black habits and the faint echo of prayers against cold stone. This is a place of devotion, where the nuns have turned their backs on the world, their lives woven into a tapestry of discipline and faith. No man steps beyond these gates. No voice from outside pierces their sacred isolation, save for the rare charity runs to nearby villages. For decades, the convent has stood as a beacon of purity until one fateful morning, when the whispers in the stone begin to unravel a nightmare. The chapel bell tolls, a deep clang that ripples through the frost. The nuns file in, their breath misting in the chill, eyes cast down as they take their places on the worn wooden pews. Mother Superior Evelyn stands at the altar, her silver hair tucked beneath her veil, her face etched with lines of quiet strength. At 62, she's led this convent for over 2 decades, her voice a steady anchor in their daily rites. She lifts her hands, "Let us pray," and the words roll out, soft as a river over stone. But before the first amen, a gasp slices the air. Sister Clara, just 23, sways in her pew, her pale hands clutching her stomach. She crumples, a heap of black cloth against the floor, and the chapel erupts in hushed chaos. Sister Margaret, wiry and quick, darts forward, cradling Clara's head. "She's faint!" Someone get water. The others murmur, their prayers faltering. Evelyn steps down, her calm cracking just enough to show the worry beneath. "Take her to the infirmary," she orders, voice firm despite the tremor in her chest. Sister Grace and Sister Ruth lift Clara, her breath shallow, her face ashen, and carry her out, the echo of their steps fading down the stone hall. Half an hour ticks by, agonizing, heavy. The nuns linger in the chapel, whispering rosaries, their fingers tracing beads like lifelines. Evelyn kneels before the crucifix, her lips moving silently. "Lord, guide us," when the infirmary door creaks open. Dr. Daniel Harper steps in, a local physician who served the convent for years, his coat dusted with early snow. Middle-aged, with gray streaking his temples, he's steady, but today his hands shake as he adjusts his glasses. Mother Evelyn. His voice is low, hesitant. She rises, meeting his gaze. "What is it, Daniel?" He wipes his brow, the words sticking in his throat. "Clara," she shows signs of pregnancy. The room freezes. Evelyn's breath catches, her hands tightening on her rosary. "That's impossible," she says, each syllable sharp, deliberate. "No man enters here. You know our vows." Daniel nods, sweat beating despite the cold. "I know. But her symptoms, swelling nausea, they're unmistakable. I've seen it too many times." Evelyn's eyes narrow, the stone walls seeming to close in. "There's a mistake. There must be." "I'd stake my license on it," Daniel replies, voice dropping. "We need to examine the others, all of them." She stands silent, the weight of his words sinking like stones in a well. Outside, the wind howls, rattling the stained glass, as if the hills themselves sense the storm brewing within. "Very well," she finally says, but discreetly, "this stays here until we understand." Daniel nods, and the nuns are summoned. 15 in all, their faces a mix of youth and age, innocence and resolve. One by one, they file into the infirmary, their habits rustling, their prayers a faint hum against the stone. Hours pass, the air growing heavier with each return. Then Daniel emerges again, his face paler than before. "Mother Evelyn, it's not just Clara. 15 of them, all 15 show the same signs." The chapel falls silent, a void swallowing every sound but the wind. 15. The number lands like a hammer. Evelyn grips the pew, steadying herself. 15, she whispers. Disbelief war with the faith that's held her all these years. Sister Margaret steps forward, her voice trembling. How? We've done nothing wrong. I don't know, Daniel admits, but it's real. I've triple-checked. The nuns exchange glances. Sister Sophie, barely 19, twists her hands. Sister Abigail, older and stern, mutters a prayer. Evelyn straightens, her gaze sweeping them. We are not sinners, she declares, voice rising like a whisper from the stone itself. Something is wrong, and we will find it. But even as she speaks, doubt flickers, a crack in the foundation she's built her life upon. Word seeps out. Slowly at first, a murmur among the villagers who bring supplies. By dusk, it's a wildfire. Whispers turn to shouts beyond the gates. Sinners! Liars! The convent, once a sanctuary, becomes a target. Evelyn stands at the window, watching shadows gather in the fading light. Men with clenched fists, women with tear-streaked faces, their faith in the nuns crumbling. A stone clatters against the gate, then another, the thud echoing off the walls. She turns to the crucifix. Why, Lord? But the stone offers no answer, only its cold, unyielding presence. Inside, the nuns huddle, their prayers louder now, a desperate chorus. Sister Ruth, soft-spoken, clutches Evelyn's sleeve. What do we do, Mother? We hold fast. Evelyn says, her voice a lifeline. The truth is our shield. But the truth is a shadow they can't yet grasp. That night, as the wind howls and the gates rattle, a carriage arrives, dusty, urgent. Bishop Lawrence steps out, his black robe stark against the snow-dusted hill. Tall, with a face carved from granite, his eyes pierce like winter itself. He's a man of power, a traditionalist who brooks no scandal, his name feared across the diocese. Evelyn greets him at the gate, her composure a mask over the storm within. Your Excellency, welcome. He doesn't smile. I've heard the rumors, Mother Evelyn. Pregnant nuns, 15 of them. Explain this disgrace. She meets his gaze, unflinching. There's no disgrace here. Only a mystery we're solving. A mystery? His voice is ice. The truth is plain, your nuns have fallen, and I will root out this sin. He strides past her, his shadow stretching long across the stone, and Evelyn feels it, the whisper in the stone, faint but growing, promising a fight she can't yet see. Lawrence's boots echo through the stone corridors, a relentless march that sets the nuns on edge. He gathers them in the great hall, 15 figures in black, their faces pale against the flickering candlelight. Evelyn stands at their head, her hands clasped, the rosary beads digging into her palms. This convent is a stain, Lawrence begins, his voice booming off the walls. 15 nuns, 15 bearing signs of sin. You betrayed your vows, your God. The words land like blows. Sister Sophie flinches, her eyes welling. Sister Margaret stiffens, defiance in her jaw. Evelyn steps forward, voice steady. Your Excellency, these women are innocent. No man has breached these walls. I'd stake my soul on it. Then explain their condition, he snaps, eyes narrowing. Explain why 15 bellies swell under your watch. She falters. No answer rises, only the whisper in the stone, urging her to hold fast. Lawrence turns to Daniel, hovering near the door. Doctor, confirm it. Daniel nods, reluctant. The symptoms are consistent. Swelling, fatigue, nausea, all 15. A murmur ripples through the nuns. Sister Grace whispers, It can't be. Lawrence smirks, cold triumph in his gaze. No more excuses. From this moment, this convent is under my command. No one leaves until the truth is carved out. He orders isolation. 15 nuns confined to their cells, the rest forbidden to speak of it. Guards, church knights in drab cloaks, station themselves at the gates, their shadows looming through the bars. Outside, the villagers grow bolder. Stones crash against the walls, shouts of frauds, and God's wrath, piercing the night. Evelyn watches from the balcony, the wind tugging at her veil, her heart heavy. We're trapped, Sister Abigail mutters beside her. Not yet, Evelyn replies, though doubt gnaws, a crack widening in her faith. Days blur into a haze of tension. Lawrence oversees examinations, his priests hovering like vultures. The nuns endure. Sister Clara trembles as Daniel probes her again. Sister Ruth weeps silently. Sister Sophie clutches a rosary until her knuckles whiten. Confess. A priest barks at Sister Beatrice, older and frail. I've nothing to confess, she rasps, tears spilling. Lawrence paces, his patience thinning. Sign this, he demands, slamming papers before them. Admissions of sin, promises of penance. Sign and you may find mercy. Sister Abigail stares at the ink, her hand shaking, then pulls back. I won't lie. Evelyn intervenes. Stop this, Excellency. They're innocent. But Lawrence's glare silences her. Your leadership fails them, Mother. Step aside or I'll remove you. The pressure breaks Sister Sophie. Alone in her cell, the stone walls closing in, she sobs. They'll kill us, and slams her fist against the bed frame, blood streaking her knuckles. Sister Margaret hears, rushes in, pulling her close. Sophie, no, we'll survive this. Sophie trembles, alive but shattered, her cries echoing down the hall. Evelyn arrives, kneeling beside her. Dear child, she brushes Sophie's hair, her own tears falling. Lord, why test us so? Outside, the mob grows. Torches flare, eggs splatter the gates. A banner screams sinners of grace. Lawrence seizes a moment. Their guilt is clear, he tells his priests. Expulsion is the only cleanse. Sister Grace overhears, whispers to Evelyn. He wants us gone. He wants power. Evelyn corrects, the whisper in the stone growing louder, a call she can't ignore. Desperate, Evelyn acts. In the dead of night, she summons Sister Margaret. Small, swift, the only one still allowed to fetch supplies. Take this, she says, pressing a sealed letter into her hands. Find Father Thomas in the village. He'll help us. Margaret nods, fear in her eyes but resolve in her grip. She slips out, cloaked in darkness, dodging the guards' lanterns. The wind howls, masking her steps as she races down the hill, the letter a lifeline clutched tight. Back inside, Lawrence tightens his grip. Evelyn's quarters are locked, her authority stripped. You failed them, he sneers through the door. I'll save this convent from your weakness. She kneels by her cot, praying, Lord, let the stone speak, her faith a flicker in the dark. Margaret reaches the village, breathless, and finds Father Thomas in his modest chapel, a man in his 40s with kind eyes and a scholar's stoop. Father, she hands him the letter, her voice breaking. They're innocent, help us. Thomas reads Evelyn's plea. 15 nuns accused, a mystery no one can solve, and his brow furrows. This isn't right. He grabs a medical tome, flipping pages by candlelight. Symptoms like these, they're not always pregnancy. Margaret leans in. Then what? I don't know yet, he admits. But I'll find out. Stay hidden, Lawrence's men are near. She nods, curling into a pew, while Thomas pores over a book, the wind rattling the windows like a warning. Back at the convent, Lawrence calls an assembly. The nuns stand in the courtyard. 15 accused flanked by the rest, their habits stark against the gray dawn. This ends now, he declares. Sign or face expulsion tomorrow. Sister Ruth wavers, her pen trembling. Evelyn catches her eye, shaking her head. Don't. Ruth drops it, tears falling, and Lawrence scowls. So be it. The crowd beyond the gates roars. Stones fly. A torch lands, singeing the grass. Sister Beatrice clutches Sister Clara. We're lost. Not yet, Clara whispers, echoing Evelyn's resolve. Inside her locked room, Evelyn presses her hands to the stone wall, feeling its chill. Speak, she murmurs, the whisper growing, a promise that truth is near, if only they can hold on. The convent trembles under the weight of night. Stones thud against the gates. The mobs chants a relentless tide. Inside her cell, Evelyn kneels, her fingers tracing the cold stone, her prayer a whisper. Lord, Let the truth rise miles away. Father Thomas hunches over his desk, the candle dripping wax onto yellowed pages. His eyes catch a line. Hormones artificial mimic pregnancy, and he freezes. Margaret, he calls, voice sharp. She jolts awake, rushing over. What is it? He taps the book. These symptoms, they could be induced. Not pregnancy, poison. Her breath catches. Poison? By who? I don't know, Thomas says. But we need proof. He grabs his coat. Stay here. I'll find Dr. Clara. Margaret nods, clutching her rosary. Hurry, Father. As he slips into the dark, the wind swallowing his steps. Dr. Clara Bennett lives on a village edge, a no-nonsense woman in her 30s. Her cottage a clutter of books and vials. Thomas bangs on her door. She opens it, hair tousled, eyes sharp. Father Thomas? It's midnight. It's urgent, he says, breathless, handing her Evelyn's letter. She scans it. 15 nuns, symptoms, accusations, then looks up. Pregnancy in a convent? Unlikely. Exactly, Thomas says. I think it's artificial. Hormones in their food or water. Clara's brow lifts. Possible, but I'd need samples. Blood, water, something. Can you test it? If you get me in, she replies, grabbing her bag. Lawrence's men are everywhere. Thomas nods. We'll find a way. At the convent, dawn breaks gray and heavy. Lawrence stands on the steps. 15 nuns before him, their faces hollow with fear. Your time is up, he booms. Sign or be cast out. Sister Sophie, bandaged hand trembling, steps back. I won't. And the others follow, a silent wall of defiance. Lawrence's face darkens. Then you leave at noon. The crowd cheers, torches flaring. Evelyn, locked away, hears it through the stone, her prayer unbroken. Outside, Thomas and Clara creep through the hills, cloaked in fog. There, Clara whispers, spotting a well near the convent's edge, the nun's water source. She dips a vial, seals it. If it's here, I'll find it. Thomas nods. I'll get Evelyn, but a guard's lantern swings near. They duck, hearts pounding, the stone wall their shield. Inside, Father Paul, a young priest under Lawrence, watches the nuns, unease gnawing at him. He's seen their tears, heard their prayers, and doubts creep in. He slips to Evelyn's door, knocking soft. Mother! She rises. Paul? Something's wrong, he whispers. Lawrence, he's too certain. I'll help you. She nods. Find Thomas, he's coming. Paul hesitates. If I'm caught, the stone will hold us, she says, faith firm. He slips away, cloak blending into shadow. Beyond the gates, Thomas reaches a side entrance. Paul spots him, waves him in. Evelyn's locked. She says you're the key. Thomas nods. Get me to her. They move, silent as the wind, while Clara hurries back to test the water. Lawrence prepares the expulsion. Papers signed. Night's ready. The 15 nuns stand in the courtyard, Sister Margaret whispering, Where's Thomas? When Paul unlocks Evelyn's door, she steps out, eyes blazing. He's here. Thomas rushes in. Mother, it's not pregnancy, it's poison. Hormones in the water. Her breath catches. Lawrence, we need blood, he says. Clara's testing the well. Evelyn nods. Take mine. She rolls up her sleeve. Thomas hesitates, then nods, drawing a sample with a borrowed kit. If this proves it, it will, she says, the whisper in the stone a roar now. Truth is breaking free. Clara's cottage glows with lamplight. She tests the water, then Evelyn's blood, her hand steady. Hours tick by, then she gasps. It's their synthetic hormones. In both. She scribbles results, seals them. This is it. She races back, meeting Thomas at the hill's crest. Positive. Someone tampered with their supply. Lawrence, Thomas growls. He wanted control. They sprint to the convent. Noon looms, the gates creaking open. Lawrence stands tall. Out. As the 15 nuns step forward, heads high despite the mob's rage. Stones fly. Sister Grace ducks. Sister Ruth shields Sophie. But Evelyn emerges, Thomas and Clara behind her. Stop, she cries, voice cutting through the din. The crowd falters. Lawrence turns. eyes narrowing. "You're done, Mother." "No," she says, holding the stone wall. "You are." Thomas steps up. "These nuns aren't pregnant. They're poisoned, hormones in their water." He holds up Clara's papers, proof. The mob hushes. Father Paul joins. "I found records." Lawrence ordered it to seize the convent. Gasps ripple. Lawrence pales. "Lies." But Clara strides forward. "I tested it myself. Swear it before God." A villager drops a stone. "We were wrong." An old woman sobs. "Forgive us," Lawrence stammers. "This is a trick." But Paul hands a crowd a notebook. Lawrence's signature clear. He planned it all. The knights waver. Thomas shouts, "Justice." And the tide turns, the whisper in the stone rising triumphant. The courtyard stills. Wind sweeps through, carrying the echo of truth off the stone walls. Lawrence staggers, his robes catching the dust as the crowd's anger shifts. "Traitor!" A man yells, hurling a stone, not at the nuns, but at him. It grazes his shoulder. He flinches, turning to flee, but the knights block him, their loyalty crumbling. Evelyn stands tall, the 15 nuns behind her. Clara, Sophie, Margaret, all unbroken despite the scars. Thomas holds the evidence high. "This ends now." And Father Paul nods, stepping to the priests. "Verify it, let the church see." A senior priest, Father Daniel, takes the papers, his face grim as he reads. This is undeniable." He turns to Lawrence. "You defiled us all." The mob surges. Lawrence is shoved, cursed, his power unraveling like thread. "I save the church," he roars, but no one listens. The knights drag him off, his cries fading into the hills. Evelyn watches, her hands press the stone. "Thank you, Lord." The whisper answered at last. Days later, the High Council convenes. Senior priests in a stone chamber, their voices low. Lawrence stands, head bowed, as Father Daniel reads, "Synthetic hormones conspiracy for control." The verdict falls, excommunicated. Exiled to a remote cell, no title, no honor. Lawrence collapses, a broken man, led away to silence. The nuns, cleared, step free, their honor restored, their faith a beacon. 1 month on, Our Lady of Grace glows anew. The gates swing wide, no guards, no threats. The nuns return to prayer, their voices rising off the stone. But the convent shifts. Evelyn opens a wing for battered women, a sanctuary born from their pain. Sister Sophie, hand-healed, tends them, her smile soft. Sister Margaret rebuilds a garden. Sister Clara aids Clara the doctor with supplies. 15 women, once accused, now healers. Thomas visits. His chapel a partner now. "You've made this a light," he says. Evelyn nods. "The stone held us and whispered us through." Villagers return, shame in their eyes. Flowers pile at the gates. A woman kneels. "Forgive me." And Evelyn lifts her. "We do as God does." Dear ones, sip your tea and feel this settle. 15 nuns, framed by evil, stood firm. Whispers in the stone carried them. Truth broke free. Justice reigned, and a convent rose stronger. If this stirred your heart, hit like, subscribe. Join us for tales of courage and faith almost daily. Your support keeps us shining. See you soon.